In this presentation, I will be discussing Leviathan, chapters 13 and 14 by Thomas Hobbes. The key terms that I thought were useful and I didn't know of was jus naturale, which is the preservation of one's own nature, and lex naturalis, which is the general rule found by reason in which one cannot destroy, so the preservation of it. So the background of Thomas Hobbes was he was born in 1588 and died in 1678, and he was born in Westport, England. His father was not accepted, and they would say a disgrace to the church, in which he disappeared, leaving all his children in care of his brother, which is their uncle, and they called him Uncle Hobbes. His family was very passionate and intelligent with mathematics and science. He was very bright when he was young, so he went to Oxford at the age of 14. He traveled to many countries, meeting many leading scholars, which one is Francis Bacon, and he was in the inner circle of the wealthy in Parliament. And he wrote The Elements of Law, Natural and Politics, which was a debate, and because of all of that going on, that's when the Civil War broke out and the king was executed. So he left for France for safety and then returned back to England in 1655. His influences were John Locke, Immanuel Kant, among other philosophers, and he was the building blocks of Western political thoughts. So the background of Leviathan is that it was written during the English War. Hobbes acknowledges the necessity for social contract, and agreement to that will unite the societies. He discusses about absolute sovereign, that human nature of war, human nature is based on fear and war, and the only way to maintain a society is in help and under rule of the government. So discussing questions I came up with is, what is Hobbes' argument on social contracts? According to Hobbes, what are some weaknesses that men have, which and also the nature of men? And in order to maintain a good society, what actions need to be taken? So starting with chapter 13 of Leviathan, the facilities of minds, Hobbes acknowledges that mind of science is greater than strength, and not science as the topic. I meant the, like biology, chemistry, but he means how everything works, and that the mind of that is greater than physical strength. And because men experience things, they develop a caution for future references. He believes that people are very prideful with their own wisdom, and they would define themselves as more educated, more knowledgeable, but that does not make them wise. The nature of men, he acknowledges the three principal causes of quarrel. The first one is competition, so they gain more land and prisoners by violence, and that the men want to control and master all of the opponents' people, land, wives, everything that they have. Diffidence is some sort of safety and defense mechanism for them. And lastly, glory, which is the end goal, and it's based on their reputation, so how people view them and how they want to be viewed. The nature of men, he says that the nature of men is equal in facilities of the mind and body. One person may be quicker or smarter than the other, but that doesn't mean they're better in any way, because even the weakest have the strength and power over the quicker and the stronger person. And by this, he gives examples as secret schemes being a technique, and also uniting, having an alliance with other people upon the quickest and strongest. And you can relate these things to war. The problem that he encounters and acknowledges and tries to discuss is that two men or opposing forces have a desire, and it could be the same, it could be different, but they both cannot fulfill that desire together, have that desire together. So they become enemies, and they would want to fulfill their own desires, so they would stop the other persons to fulfill their desire. And the only thing they should fear is the other person's power. So they would be prepared in that, and also, like war, they would have alliances. They would try to deprive the opponents from their life and liberty, and men always keep company of power. They wouldn't need someone that's virtuous or skillful. They would just want to be involved and know someone that has power, that they think that has power. With the war, he says that every man is against every man, just because you may be working with other people that could change quickly, and that there's more than just the battle and fighting itself for the war. Timing is key, because for when you time something, that also accounts for weather. It's going to be hard fighting in the rain. And also that uncertainty is one of the weakness both individuals have, because there are infinite ways and infinite actions the opposing side could do. So you just don't know what it is, but hope for the best and trying to defend yourself. And he also notices that the war going on, which was the English War during this time, was had a lot of consequences, and it was unjust. There was really no point for it. So the big picture of chapter 3 was that equality arises hope. So if things are equal, the classes were more equal, then it will become we would see hope in future society where it's more peaceful and less chaotic than it is. Anticipation can hurt oneself, so we have the tendency and the urge of anticipation, in which we just do things from what we feel like we want to do. But it's good to think things through. And he also acknowledges that desire and passions are no sins in themselves. So it's like saying when we're a baby, we don't know what's good or bad. We would just do what we feel like doing, and no one will tell us wrong unless it will cause a problem. And that's why he believes that we need laws, rules, and social contracts to keep order in society. Going on to chapter 14 of Leviathan is laws and rights. So the right of nature was thus natural, and he talks about renouncing, which means like having no care for the benefits. And he also talks about the goods and the life of liberty. So basically the rights of oneself. And the law of nature, lex naturalis, he says, seek peace and it shall follow. So with everything, all the wars and problems, the end goal should be peace, and no one could destroy that, or should destroy that. So the conditions of war, again, he talks in the last chapter that men are against men, but these men are governed by their own reason to preserve their own life from the enemy. So there is no fault in that. He also says every man ought to endeavor peace as far as hope of obtaining it, and when he cannot obtain it, that may seek the use of all helps and advantages of war. So the things that occur in war is the things that people do is to find the end piece of everything. So it may present itself as bad and unethical, but they're really just trying to do everything to keep peace, or find the end goal of peace. So the Leviathan basically is talks about nature of humans, that first and foremost, everything that we desire, do, our passions are not sinful because it's just our natural urges. And the only way we would know it's wrong is if someone tells us. And that's why there is a need for social contracts. So we could have an agreement on things to do and not to do, what's good passions and what's sinful passions. And we just need agreement on that to keep order. And that will, the social contract should also include the life and liberty of a person, to keep balance, peace, and harmony within a society, and especially equality.